Yeah,
Okay, so moving on to our next question.
yeah,
And this one I found really interesting because we kind of touched on it a little bit the other day. But
yeah.
what has been the biggest challenge for you? Sorry, I'm reading off a piece of paper, just so I remember. What's been the hardest personal challenge you have had to overcome on your leadership journey? I
Yeah,
know
and
there's been many, but just maybe.
yeah, no, no, and there are, and of
Yeah.
course, yeah, we can, we can put the world to rights on that. Of course, we haven't
Mm.
got the time for that, but
Yeah.
I think it goes back to, the start of this conversation where I highlighted sort of my journey, and my
Hmm.
journey was a transition,
Yeah.
and it was a transition of leadership. Project managers are leaders.
Hmm.
Program managers are leaders, portfolio managers are leaders, and program directors are leaders. We're all
Yeah.
leaders. But it's to the degree and the breadth and the depth of the leadership that
Yeah. That's
and the
interesting.
accountability of that leadership which has grown. So, from that point of view, it's kind of like I would say from my personal experience, transitioning from my early years from a project manager to program manager to program director, what I saw as terms of changes was really the deeper accountability, the ownership of those changes.
Yeah.
You're no longer painting by numbers. I'm not saying that, sort of saying that all projects are painting by numbers, but you're no longer in this comfort zone that you were probably used to for a few years. You're now moving into a new world where you must act on your feet. And you are literally at the end of that chain for decision making,
Yeah.
for priority calls. They are looking for you to give them guidance and structure now, and that's what they see you as a leader. You can, of course, you're only human, so you could feel a little bit overwhelmed at the start, and you kind of need to build upon that as well. And you could feel a little bit out of depth, but composure, um, the realization that your own worth is takes over, because you were called in that position for a very good reason, because
Yeah. Yeah.
you you have a demonstrable track record,
Mm.
showing that you have delivered that because you have the leadership and the capabilities and the skill set to do that. So really stand on your own pedestal sometimes and
Hmm.
say, you've had a good journey, and take some lessons from that. You can always take lessons from the past, but you know what? You're always learning as well, even as a leader today.
I like that a lot because I didn't consider that. And I don't think a lot of people do when it comes to moving up
Yeah,
a level. Of course, imposter syndrome comes into it with everyone really, because it's just you're faced with something completely new and you
yeah,
immediately feel like, oh God, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. And it's almost like exactly what you said, like you have to kind of refresh and rethink and just be like, okay, I've gotten here because I do know what to do, and there's things to learn and I'm going to
yeah,
be challenged,
yeah,
but I have enough experience I have a good enough foundation that I can build on it. I can learn, and you kind of have to pep talk, yourself, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah,
But I love that because I don't think that's looked at enough. I think everybody sort of assumes that anyone in sort of higher leadership positions, or really any leadership positions, that they in some way find it easy to step up and that it's just, yeah, they're ready for it, so it's just a natural progression route, and it's not.
yeah.
I don't think, I mean, some people may find it easier than others, but there's always an element of fear about something new and change, so in that way it sort of
And and I think my feedback to anybody who is in going through that transition
mm,
at the moment is to tell yourself it's okay to feel like that.
yeah, yeah,
It's
exactly.
perfectly natural. And
Mm,
so don't be frightened of your own feeling of that. I actually think it's positive that you feel like that, because actually it demonstrates that you are aware that you are going through that transition
mm-hmm.
and you are doing something about it. So, to me, embrace it as you go through that journey. But, don't feel that in any way that that's a negative thing. I actually would spin that around and say it's quite
Yeah.
a positive thing.
Yeah, and that it means you care. It means you want to do a good job. It
Yeah.
means that you feel the sense of responsibility, which obviously, if you're feeling that too much, can be completely overwhelming. But the point is that they are positive things. You just kind of have to remember that and actually spin them the perspective. That is really important.
Absolutely.
Okay.